Alright, so now that we have logged in to our Windows 16 HSM server, let's start configuring things. First of all, let's take a look at the rules and policies. Generally speaking, the rules and policies are going to be global settings. They're going to regulate the timing of events within the HSM software. Let's take a look at the schedule and globals on the left-hand side. The first settings that you'll see are daily migration peak hours. The default is from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Generally speaking, you can think of this as your standard business hours of a company. The daily no activity hours are from 1 o'clock in the morning until 4. Generally speaking, you can think of this as your maintenance window. When you're going to be doing backups, you might be doing antivirus scans. Whatever you're doing in your maintenance window, this would be your maintenance window. And of course, you can change these and schedule them at different times. There is something that's implied here that we call off-peak hours. And you have two off-peak time frames. You have from 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then from 4 a.m. until 8 a.m. Those are what's called off-peak hours, and the off-peak hours are when HSM is going to do the majority of its scanning and migration of files. Alright, one of the next things that you're going to notice is the scheduling options that you have for yourself. You can schedule Sunday through Saturday each day of the week. You can also do on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. You can also turn off migrations during the day. You can schedule for off-peak hours, and you can also schedule for all day, which will do migration scans and archive as much as it possibly can during the day, during business hours, typically used in an emergency type of scenario. Down here with the deduplication schedule, basically the same thing, except we use the deduplication schedule in conjunction with your single instancing, so it will work quite nicely with your single instancing. And as far as the deletion schedule is concerned, it's grayed out here because that's a separate schedule. You can enable that and then follow along with the same options that you would normally have. To save this setting, or to save any settings on a screen, you want to click this blue icon anytime you see it. Alright, moving on, let's review the settings up in the top right hand corner here. Megabytes left when destination is full. This is a warning. It's set at 500 megs by default. This is a megabyte left when destination full. This is a stoppage of archiving. We will no longer archive until you get more space on the destination volume. This is exactly as it says. It's a warning interval in minutes. It will warn you every 60 minutes that there's an error or a problem that you need to take care of. Auto delete target of deleted stub files is set to 90 minutes, or 90 days, excuse me. What this is that we will automatically delete target files of stubs that have been removed. This allows you to avoid what's called an orphaned target situation. The regular migration scan is set for 360 minutes, and the emergency migration interval is set for 5 minutes right now. Normally it's set for 120. That's the default, but for my demonstration it's going to be set for 5 minutes. And then of course the deletion interval for that scan is set to the default of 360 minutes. Alright, moving on. Let's take a look at restub after close. By enabling this feature, you are enabling the option to restub unchanged recalled files when they are closed. If you enable migrate archived files only, this is ensuring files are backed up by your backup software before they are migrated. The next item is a stub check after scan. What it does is it runs an integrity check against the stubs, against the target files, and it just double checks the integrity of that connection and it will give you a report. And then of course the last, if it's enabled, will enable delete capabilities. Alright, the next item to review is the migration global filters. In here are standard files or file types that we do not want to migrate, and they're set in the migration global filters. So globally we will not migrate these files. Some of these files are smaller than 4K. Some of these files are internal control files. Typically we don't want to migrate these files, so we exclude them from migrations. The next item we want to take a look at is the advanced notification. I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but basically this allows you to integrate our HSM software with whatever monitoring tools that you have. You might have BMC Patrol, or you might have something simple like an SMTP server that's gathering information and distributing alerts to the various people with the pager. One of the last things that we're looking at on this screen or on this tab are the volume share threshold watermarks in percent. The use of the volume share threshold watermarks in percent group box is used to view and manage volume thresholds. Administrators can add, delete, or edit individual thresholds. The Rules and Policies tab displays the following information about the volumes. The volume obviously identifies the volume or the share. Emergency indicates the threshold for the volume in percent. Safety indicates the safety threshold for the volume in percent. And then of course goal obviously indicates the goal threshold for the volume in percent. As far as current is concerned, it indicates the current space utilized by the volume in percent. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a volume share threshold. To do that, click the blue icon, and you'll notice that I have the options of doing either a local or a remote. Right now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to select a local, which is going to be a sys share on the server, which is my E drive. And you'll notice that the emergency percentage, safety, and goal usages are the defaults of 90, 80, and 50. Let's go ahead and click to accept that. Now you'll notice that the only item that is in breach is the goal. We currently are set at 53%. We're in breach of our goal, which is at 50%. What this means is that we would have a migration scan to run automatically every 360 minutes. But for the intent of this, for the purposes of this video, we're going to change these and create a breach situation. To create that breach situation, we're going to edit, and we're going to change these to something that's going to be below the current usage. So we're going to go 20%, we're going to go 15%, and then we're going to go 5%. Now you'll notice that you can also save this as a template for distribution for if you have, say for instance, many other volumes that you want to use and they want to use the same settings. You can save this as a template, and we'll show you the templates a little bit later. But let's go ahead and save this as a template. Gives you the information, names it automatically. If you want to change that name, that's fine. This is where it's going to save the XML file, and this is the information that it's going to save. So click on Save. Now let's go ahead and click OK to modify. Now you'll notice that our current is still at 53%, but we're in breach of our emergency goal with 20%. So what that means is every 5 minutes my emergency migration interval is going to kick in, and we're going to conduct a migration scan every 5 minutes until we get out of this emergency situation. One last thing before we leave this screen is one of the buttons that I have not pushed yet is Save a Schedule and Globals as a Template. Just a few seconds ago, we saved the volume thresholds as a template, but we can also save these settings as a template as well if you have multiple servers that you wanted to deploy these settings to. So let's go ahead and click that, save, and you've seen this screen before, schedules and globals. You can rename it if you want. Here's the XML file location, and here's what's going to be in the XML file. Click on Save.